Mandatory minicamp is here, baby. Let's roll.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Cardinals, your team every day. Alex Clancy here. Follow me on Twitter at Clancy's Corner. Follow the podcast at Locked On AZ Cards. Please like, subscribe, turn notifications on. YouTube channel. On our way to Locked On Cardinals 3K on YouTube. I really appreciate it. Thank you again for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen each and every day, free wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, official sportsbook of the NFL. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to get started. So Arizona Cardinals mandatory minicamp is here. We're 86 days away from kickoff. We're getting closer. And there are going to be storylines throughout mandatory minicamp, namely where Isaiah Simmons is positioning himself to potentially play in 2023. Defensive backs. He's with the defensive backs in defensive backroom. What is that? What are we doing here? I'm going to unpack that in the second segment. What do you want to see from rookies? I'm going to talk about that in the third segment. But first, this is the most important storyline, and I've gotten YouTube comment attacked for talking about the same topics over and over and over again. The thing is, when they're the most important things to discuss, I'm going to continue to talk about them. Not only because it's what people want to hear, but also because it's the most important thing as it pertains to the organization. We're a far cry away from all of the possibilities that could happen in 2023. I've talked about that a lot. We are in list season, but we're not in full-blown eye of the storm list season, which will come in July. Okay? These are storylines that are directly affecting the organization existentially right now. And what's so important about how things are done right now is because this is the foundation building process. This is the infrastructure building process. This is the culture shifting process. And while probably 90% of the culture needs to be shifted because Michael Bidwell is the owner and because Steve Keim and Cliff Kingsbury were the GM and head coach over the last recent seasons, respectively, 10% that needs to stay is the fan base and the players who have gotten the Cardinals to where they are now over the last couple of years regarding wins and losses and, leadership and things like that. And Budda Baker is the leader in the clubhouse. Budda Baker is the crown jewel. Budda Baker is the dictionary definition of what you want every Arizona Cardinal to approach football like. And while he got a contract extension a couple years ago, and while he's closer to 30 than he's not, his impact on and off the field is something that cannot be calculated. There's not a dollar amount associated with it. He is the heart and soul of the Arizona Cardinals organization as it sits currently. So while people look at it as, oh, he's holding the organization hostage to get money. He just got a contract. If he was a real pro, he'd play out his contract that he currently has before asking for more money. What Budda Baker went through last year and what 2023 is sure to be is not a picnic. Okay? This is showing, if they were to extend him for a couple of years, it's showing good faith. It's showing we know your value. It's showing that the pillar on the defensive side of the ball for the Arizona Cardinals will not be going elsewhere, hopefully for the entirety of his career. It shows fulfilling on one of the first things that Monti Ossenfort said is that Budda Baker is what every Arizona Cardinal should be like. It's just following through on what you said is one of the first things said as you took over as GM of this team. Now, could it be a little bit more than what should be, given to a position group like the safety? It's not a elite or not a necessary, It's not edge rusher, it's not corner. Maybe. I mean, maybe it's a little bit more than what you'd like to allocate to the safety room. Sure, especially after paying Jalen Thompson. But the Cardinals' last worry is the salary cap. I mean, their last worry is where remnant funds are going. Their biggest worry and biggest task at hand currently is building a sustainable roster for the future with leaders in the right positions, with players who add to the positive portion of the culture, and how to best position themselves for the future. So when you have guys like DJ Humphries and Budda Baker on the roster still, okay, those guys are invaluable. DJ Humphries taking a step back, sure. Has he ever been an all-pro level left tackle? No. Is he better than 15 of them in the NFL? Yes. And he's an Arizona Cardinal. It's one of the best interviews on the planet. He loves being here, it seems. Budda Baker, same thing. And it's not like, oh, they love being here, so you must pay them to keep them. That's not it. When there's genuinely good people, and I'm not saying Budda Baker and DJ Humphries are the only ones on the team, but that's the last thing I'm saying. But, like, they're leaders. There are very few Budda Bakers in the NFL. And if you have to pay a little extra to keep them for a couple years, first of all, it's going to be a bargain when the actual extension kicks in, even though I'm assuming they'd give him more guaranteed money 2023 to kind of placate, as I've talked about a lot. The Arizona Cardinals need as many set and forget positions on this roster as possible. As of now, they have 0. Give me one player on this roster that you can guarantee will perform every week. If Budda Baker's not on this roster, it would be 0. Now, it's not to say that Zaven Collins isn't going to emerge, Isaiah Simmons, some of the rookies, Kyler Murray when he comes back, John Gaines, DJ Humphries, but give me one that you can guarantee. And it's like, well, you can't guarantee performance. We're not Nostradamus here. Stop. Give me one player that is a go-to guarantee will perform every week at a high level. Can't. There isn't one. The only one that you can guarantee right now wants a contract extension. Give it to him. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. Isaiah Simmons, what the hell is going on? Let's discuss it next. First, this episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by FanDuel. Make your way to FanDuel right now, okay? New customers can get a no-sweat first bet up to $2,500. $2,500 in bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win, okay? NBA season, over. Baseball season, full force. You want to do a little same-game parlay? Get over there. Hits, over-under. Runs, over-under. Strikeouts. You can adjust it's like a playground of fun over at FanDuel. I mean, it's everything that you want. There's no better place to bet all the playoff action, regular season action, future bets action for the NFL than America's #1 sportsbook. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and get a no-sweat first bet up to $2,500 in bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. I mean, give me a break. FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. So I know I talk about Budda Baker a lot, and I know that it's something that seems redundant. I just think it's more and more important every time I bring it up because the Arizona Cardinals without Budda Baker is so much more fragile in this transition than the team with Budda Baker. I mean, it's not even, I don't think it's not even close. So it's just something that hopefully in the next coming weeks, they'll get a deal done. In my opinion, I think it'd be beneficial. Set and forget. You have your leader of the team, and onward and upward. Isaiah Simmons practicing, self-reported and reported otherwise, that he's practicing with the defensive backs. 6'4", 240. Not exactly a defensive back's body. Not exactly the best in coverage that we've seen from the linebacker position over the last couple of seasons, but there's two questions, or there's two, answers as to the answering of the question, why? So there's one where it's a little bit more unsettling. It's like, so why is Isaiah Simmons practicing with the DBs? One, the unsettling one is they still don't know where to put him yet. So they're trying new things, which unsettling because and these are both, these are both hypothetical, but unsettling in the fact that maybe Jonathan Gannon and Nick Roush don't know what to do with him in the sense that they don't see the big picture. Do I think that's it? No. I think that this is a feeling out phase, especially because, in Jonathan Gannon's introductory press conference, I'm paraphrasing here, but he said something to the effect of, we don't really have a scheme. We're kind of going to gauge where our skill sets are on defense, couple that with the setup that the opposing offenses will set up in any given week, and we'll build a scheme around that. So if that's the case, okay, that'll lend to my second potential answer for the question of why is Isaiah Simmons practicing with the DBs. Going back to the first, the only reason why this is brought up is because it looks to be revisionist history with Hassan Reddick. And this has been discussed a lot, but I think it's something that we're looking at from a different lens now because there's no longer any remnants really of the last coaching staff or front office. So it's like, well, Monti Ossenfort's going to fail in the draft because Steve Keim did. It's kind of one of those things. They couldn't figure out where to use Hassan Reddick, and now Hassan Reddick is an all-pro pass rusher. Same thing with Isaiah Simmons. And I said this 2 years ago, that if they didn't figure it out last year, that this year is going to be very uncomfortable. Because now there's pressure. Not pressure financially because they didn't pick up his fifth-year option, but pressure to pack in a diagnosis of Isaiah Simmons' true skill set at the NFL level in 17 weeks or 17 games with no safety net. Maybe they figure it out mid-season amid the Cardinals potentially losing a lot more than they win this year. It's like, well, what was that? How do you gauge that? Will you let him walk, franchise tag him, sign him to a massive extension? Like, Isaiah Simmons is going to have to take such a massive leap in 2023 to really garner that money from the Cardinals, and the Cardinals warranting, giving him that. Can he do it? Sure. We've just been waiting. He's like a dormant volcano, just waiting to explode here. Now the DB room shift is interesting. It could be, just they're trying him out at a bunch of different positions, but it's a lot more controlled than Vance Joseph trying him at 12 different positions as a rookie. Now the second, more positive answer would be, oh, they figured it out. You can kind of play him as that, that Derwin James kind of player. And he weighs 20 pounds more than Derwin James. He's a couple inches taller, but you don't need him to be Derwin James. If you want to play him as that hybrid, safety linebacker, okay. The thing is that with all of these ideas and possibilities for Isaiah Simmons, they just need to find one, pick one, and stick with it. Very clear instructions. There's no flexibility, no malleability. This is exactly what Isaiah Simmons' position is going to be, whether it be the star position or otherwise. They need to figure it out so they can utilize potentially the best and most versatile athlete on the roster. They have keys to a Ferrari and they don't know how to drive, manual. They don't know how to drive a manual transmission. That's what it's been up until this point. So moving him to the DB room, at least for now, like maybe they figured it out. And I lend to trust more than I'm skeptical early on because you have nothing to be skeptical about. They have no experience. Okay. That's like saying at 2 a.m., oh man, it's late. No, it's actually early because it's tomorrow. It's like, shut up. Don't you hate people like that? It's tomorrow. God, it's so late today. That's tomorrow. It's 12:52. It's actually Wednesday. Shut up. I'm not telling you to shut up every day, so I promise I would never. So there's two options to look at it through, two lenses to look at. They're still hunt and pecking to try and figure out what position is best served for Isaiah Simmons' skill set, or they figured it out and this is their path. I'd rather them pick a path and have it be wrong than straddle the fence and just try to figure it out and where he blends in and everything. You know what? Go make him a safety. Go make him a corner, whatever it is, and stick with it unless it burns down terribly very, very early on. Make a decision, stick with it. Because the Cardinals legitimately have nothing to lose. They don't. The only thing they may have to lose is if they backslide into what they've been forever. This is a completely different organization. And I'm going to do a podcast later this week talking about if the Cardinals can win with Michael Bidwell as the owner. But for now, Isaiah Simmons is with the DB group. Are they still trying to figure out where to put him, or do they already know? And this is the clear decision that they made. We'll find out, but it's fascinating. Isaiah Simmons is the most fascinating player on this roster, I think, because there is no ceiling for him. He's smart. He's got a good head on his shoulders. Wildly athletically talented. They just got to figure it out. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. What are you looking at for the rookies at mandatory minicamp? Anything specific? There's a couple. Let's hit it next. Locked On Cardinals, Alex Clancy here. Follow me on Twitter at Clancy's Corner. Follow the podcast at Locked On AZ Cards. Thanks for chilling. Everydayers. Thanks for being around. Thanks for hanging. Thanks for being a part of my life for so long. And hopefully, I haven't annoyed you too much. If this is your first listen to Locked On Cardinals, thank you. If you've been here since 2017, when I started this baby, thank you. This is going to be a very fun summer. It's going to be a very fun season. It's going to be very fun in perpetuity. Keep it locked here, Locked On Cardinals. So, rookies, Paris Johnson Jr., John Gaines, Michael Wilson. Is there anything that you can see that will have any sort of lingering effects? And I can't remember who I said it. This person was quoting somebody else, pretty much saying, and I'm paraphrasing, that it was a former NFL head coach who was quoted as saying something like this, like, you're only going to see things if they're not good. You're only going to really put merit into things like, oh, that guy can't catch a football. Whoops. Quarterbacks, things like that. Baker Mayfield throwing 3 picks in training camp, little things like that. I think for me, and I said this during rookie minicamp, was if I see smiling faces, that's the biggest thing for me. And it doesn't make it's like, well, they're in the NFL. Obviously, it's going to be fun. That'll wear off because it's the Cardinals. Stop. If I see smiling faces by rookies wearing an Arizona Cardinals uniform, I take that as a huge win. It's little things. It's psychological. It's, as I mentioned, I will talk about this forever until, this head coaching, this coaching staff and these players are really molding into a machine that can win. It's culture shifting. It's culture building. It's rapport building. It's family building. It's team building. It's things like this because the Arizona Cardinals have been a transplant team. They've contracted out talent from other organizations to come play here because the former GM couldn't draft well. I mean, a lot of the time. He had his moments. Budda Baker was his best draft pick. Trading up for him at the top of the second round in 2017. Best draft pick. So when you see young players enjoying themselves, practicing hard, going through the motions at an NFL level, but you see smiles cracked, you see camaraderie being built, you see brotherhood. Like, this isn't like a Brady Bunch segment. These things are important, especially when they happen organically in one of the most pivotal times in this organization's history. And I'm not being magnanimous. I'm not trying to make things bigger than they are. These are important things. This is an important time. And when you see Paris Johnson Jr. and you see Michael Wilson fielding punts, and you see these guys on the field, and there's enjoyment being had while practicing for the Arizona Cardinals. These guys were drafted to be the future of this team. Well, obviously, any draft pick would be. No, the Cardinals have been fairly devoid of talent in key positions over the last couple of years, at least depth-wise. And when you draft a left tackle for the future, you draft potential outside wide receiver for the future, pass rusher, and, kind of an everything guy on defense in BJ Ojulari, and John Gaines in the fourth round, it could potentially be the center for the future. That's not a normal scenario that teams usually find themselves in, not winning teams at least. You draft for the future. The Cardinals are drafting for right now in an effort to position themselves with these players for the future. If 3 out of those 4 hit, Paris Johnson Jr., BJ Ojulari, John Gaines, and Michael Wilson, the Cardinals are in a completely different spot. Garrett Williams, they drafted very well with guys who have one potential CB1, wide receiver 1, center 1. I know is dumb, but starting left tackle, even though Paris Johnson Jr. is probably going to play inside to start with DJ Humphries, depending on what they do with Kelvin Beachum on the right side. They drafted for now and for the future. For now is the tough part because maybe these guys aren't ready to play yet. This has been the constant definition of insanity for the Cardinals. Michael Wilson should not have started 2 years ago, but because they completely ignored the cornerback position, he had to. Things like that. Byron Murphy shouldn't have been CB1 in 2018 when he got drafted, or 2019 when he got drafted. But Patrick Peterson got popped for PEDs. They had no contingency plan besides Tremaine Brock, and he had to start right away. This is ripping the Band-Aid off and hopefully drafting during that time, drafting players who can play right away. And if their pedigree is anything that could transition to the NFL level, even at 80%, the Cardinals are going to be in a good spot. But it starts with mandatory minicamps, rookies, ingraining themselves in this team. And if it happens with a smile on their face, it's just, I see that as bigger than just a young gentleman happy to be in the NFL. I see it as the beginning of incremental culture shift within the Arizona Cardinals, which is desperately needed. Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. I'll talk to you tomorrow.